I'm sitting on the YouTube channel on the phone, so there's a delay between me or between the Zoom and the YouTube. So a lot of times I'm hearing you on the YouTube a little bit later than on the.
Yeah. Yeah, you're still real faint.
Okay, hang on. Can you hear me now?
Just barely.
Oh, crap.
Yeah.
Yell.
Yeah, it's like you're whispering.
Okay. Because I'm eventually going to have to turn down the volume on the computer so I can't hear on it. But just keep in mind that I'm listening on the YouTube channel. So, well, actually, I don't have to sit on the YouTube channel on the phone. So, delay between me or between the Zoom and the YouTube. So, a lot of times, a little bit later.
Deja vu. Yeah. Yeah, you're still real faint.
Okay, hang on. I can hear it good on the YouTube channel.
Just barely.
Oh, crap.
So that's live right now.
Yell.
Yeah, it's like you're whispering.
Okay. Because I'm eventually going to have to turn down the volume. Hi, Carrie.
Hi.
So I can't hear on it. Are you hearing the YouTube channel as well? That I'm listening on the YouTube channel. So let me shut this thing. On the YouTube channel on the phone. So let me mute this one. Okay, that's better. Now it's just me and you, Carrie.
Gotcha.
Hi,
Thumbs up.
Francis Barretto's with us now. We got 4 people here. I don't know.
You're still like really faint to me.
I see. Completely for a second there. Hang on. No, I didn't. I'm worried about getting too loud on the YouTube channel.
How do I sound to you?
Normal.
Okay. Yeah, you're still like faint on my phone.
Turn your volume up on your phone. See if you can turn.
Yeah, I got it full blast.
Hey, Roy, what's up?
What's wrong? The volume's real low.
For you?
On my phone, yeah. No. It should be louder. It was working fine for a while.
It just seems like when you're outside it is
okay.
Okay, there we go. Participants. We got 2 participants.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, guys. You got it on? Okay.
I'm on, but I'm like, I have to get really close to here.
Hearing aids and glasses, Carrie.
What's that?
Roy says you need hearing aids and glasses.
And a flashlight.
Hi, Matthew. You guys, we're trying to wait for a few more people to come in. It says we've only got 4 watching right now, so I know a lot more people are going to be coming.
I'm trying to see something here.
Okay.
Hold on.
Let's see.
All the way up. Damn it. I'm mad now.
I just have to talk louder. That's all. Guys, we're going to talk about cross-contamination today because people have been popping up with all kinds of stuff. For real. So, and I've seen some really troubling things that really need to be covered. Just waiting for a few more people to get here. Carrie, how are those blue diamonds doing? Uh-oh, Carrie has messed up his camera. Are you back with us, Carrie? Hey guys, we've lost Carrie for a minute. He's working on it.
All right, Emma, here I am.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, the volume's perfect. Something was on mute, and the Zoom mute button was on for some reason. But I just figured out how to get back. Just swipe the screen.
Hi,
Fucking A.
Saji. Welcome to the stream, guys.
Hey, everybody.
We got a few more people.
Awesome.
You guys have any questions for Carrie? I'd love to hear about his blue diamonds right now.
They are doing great. Just eating everything I put in a tank, giving them a couple water changes a day, make sure I wipe down the bottoms, pick up all the debris, trying not to overfeed. I've been home for a week, so it's been a lot easier. I like to feed, less more frequently than throwing a ton in and being gone for 6-7 hours. So just with that helps so much, and they're doing so well, really well.
Awesome. That is great to hear. What else you got going right now?
So I've talked to a few of the good buddies of mine in Asia, and I just picked up a few white butterflies, and I also have I've always had a few of the reflection deeps. Supposedly the reflection deeps I have come from two different people that are golden base, and they have no bars, but supposedly they use them as an intermediate fish to cross to white butterfly, golden butterfly, albino butterfly, because cobalt is the main source of the creation of the white butterfly. So, I had a bunch of messages from people, friends of mine in Asia that I talk to and keep in touch with, and they told me, hey, you need to take those reflection deeps that you bought and cross them with the white butterflies you just recently purchased. And so I did, and I put a couple together, and when they first hatch, all the fry are black, and now that they went free swimming today, there are a bunch of golden ones, there are clear ones, and there are black ones. So I'm pretty amazed and excited to work on that, because we know, of course, how everyone frowns upon a blue fish crossed with a pigeon blood. It's just every day someone's showing it and everyone's against it. But I guess there are, I've always knew that, but I've heard of the cobalt with golden intermediate gene being used for white butterfly, especially in Malaysia.
Right.
Those guys are a lot into line breeding and back crossing and using a lot of intermediate fish, where other places like Vietnam do more of a true line breeding with different lines and using siblings and really closely related fish to use in their breeding program, where Malaysia likes to outcross and use intermediate fish of different sources, being that they got the genes so locked in on certain fish. But I'm pretty excited to see how they turn out. So very interesting. And from what they told me, I'm a believer.
Yeah. Well, you keep some beautiful fish, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I try. I'm a picky person. I like good fish, and I've tried other fish with genetic defects, or can't say if they're birth defects or genetic defects or what they are, but a lot of it does show back up. It might not show up first generation, but it does come back to haunt you. It does. So
Right.
Yeah, be careful about that. Always be picky. Nothing wrong with it.
Kim, thanks for coming in. You're still set as moderator for the chat. So
Hi, Kim. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Nigel. Okay, representing. Definitely nice to see you guys here today, this afternoon. So Carrie, I've got that batch going. I don't know, about 50 or 60. And I think we're at possibly about 50% non-pigeon from a pigeon pair.
Right.
So that's going to be interesting. It should turn out to be the rose reds, the same as the melons through. So we'll see. They're really pretty though.
So they're probably the pigeons you started with are probably throwbacks from other rose red lines or, red cover lines. A lot of pigeon is used to induce more red to the brown base.
Right.
And it's just a matter of inbreeding and line breeding, selective breeding from there. But you'll get a lot of that, especially with Malaysian fish. And that's kind of what I was just talking about. They have everything so locked in. Back in the day, we wouldn't have thought of taking a red pigeon blood with golden intermediate genes and using it on, even a leopard snake skin. And the throwbacks now, what they're getting with everything locked in is how they're bringing out these golden leopard snake skins out of these batches. But it's really interesting stuff, that's for sure.
Right. So we're planning for outcrosses now. We've got 3 pairs with fry coming up. The yellow pair is going to be really interesting because the male carries the yellow gene for sure.
Awesome.
I'm probably going to end up crossing him with some of the melon babies and seeing what we get from that. But with the melon babies throwing the non-pigeons, that should be an interesting to see what comes out of that.
Right. Heck yeah. That's the funnest part about it. That's kind of what that's what I like about breeding and, using the right fish and going about it the right way. Some of the fish are just beautiful. Yeah. You can't buy them. You can't beat it.
Nope. Absolutely not. So we got a few people here. So I guess we need to start talking about the cross-contamination issues.
Yes.
I mean, everybody knows that, you need to quarantine your fish. Everybody has their own quarantine procedures. And, a lot of people, I don't think, have a long enough quarantine procedure to keep from having issues.
Right.
And so many of them think that cross-contamination is parasites. Cross-contamination in discus is generally not parasites. It's generally going to be bacterial.
Right. 100%.
And I saw some stuff, in the past month where they're using small fish to cycle tanks. You're bringing the bacteria into the tank with those small fishes. Even if they're not there when you put the discus in, they've left that bacteria behind. So you're putting your fish at risk there using the small fish. If you really have to cycle your tank, you can buy some of the beneficial bacterias. You do have to be careful which ones you buy. And Carrie may be able to recommend some. I don't have any to recommend.
No, I'm a hard knocks guy. I don't mess with that stuff. I know what I need to do, and I can do it just by doing water changes daily or twice daily. Even adding pure ammonia to the tank. I don't have a problem adding dither fish to help cycle a tank like guppies, because I keep my own guppies. I don't bring anything in from pet stores. So I have fish to do that with. And I know how to flip filters from other tanks, being that I have multiple tanks. If you do, and everything's quarantined already and clean, then you can do a lot of flip flopping. It's when you're bringing in a lot of new fish is the problem. And a lot of people start off like that. So you start off with guppies, and then you move on to mollies, and then you move into angelfish and cichlids and this and that. And you're so lucky all the way through, because none of these species are really bad with bacteria. Angelfish a little bit more, mostly South Americans. But these fish that you guys start out with and start your experiment, your aquarium journey with, these fish are not prone to these bacterial infections. And they can carry parasites here and there, but mostly bacteria they'll carry without showing signs, and they're not going to react the way a discus is going to react to a bacteria, especially when it comes from another environment, situation, tank, blah blah blah. That is a big problem. So people just jump in these discus fish thinking, gonna do what I did with all the rest of the fish, and it just doesn't work that way. It's a whole new different ball game.
And see, I start differently. We start with a completely sterile tank, and we have fish and we do our daily water changes, and we add salt to it. We add prime to it to lock the ammonia. But we start with a completely sterile tank. That way the fish coming in aren't exposed to our existing bacteria right at
Excellent.
stressed, and they can get used to it. Hi, Bob.
Hey, Bob, how are you?
Something I don't recommend doing is they say get a sponge from your supplier or have somebody send you a sponge. And the reason I don't do that is because you don't know what other fish have been exposed to that sponge. You don't know what other bacteria is in that sponge, what parasites are in that sponge that they're sending to you.
Right.
So I really, really don't recommend that. We had somebody on the forum not long ago, 2 different people sent them sponge filters to put in their tank. And I'm thinking that's just a really, really bad idea.
It's a good thought. Good thought.
It is a very good thought. Absolutely a good thought. But you don't know if that person's fish are going to react negatively to your bacteria, and you really don't know. That actually turned out really good. I was following it and I was watching for any issues, and he thankfully didn't have any, but you just never know. You never know.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. That's a thing I usually tell everyone. You don't trust anyone. I have tons of people come to the house and they're like, "Can I throw this into my tank?" And I tell them, I'm saying, you probably can, but if something happens, it ain't my fault. And it comes back to haunt you here and there. There's been issues. You never just want to throw a discus from someone else's tank, their environment. Their water quality is going to be totally different from yours. The amounts of bacteria, the different bacteria that are present, that are active and inactive are going to be different. So that's where this problem lies. And that's the biggest thing with quarantine discus is the bacteria. Again, these fish are used to low pH. They were raised in it. Low pH is no bacteria. There's no filtration. Luckily, it rains every day, and in the rainy season it rains all day, and most of the water source is from the Andes, and this is how the Amazon has changed, and this is how the fish thrive. And there's no bacteria present. So now that we're taking these fish and putting them in higher pH and keeping them in tap water, this is what happens. And it's not saying they can't live a long healthy life if we take care of them, but you need to be aware of these situations. And everyone's going to recommend a higher pH because, especially your retailer, that's how they're going to sell you a filter. If you're trying to run low pH, there's no use having a filter. Filtration is at its best at pH above 7.0. So that is why most fish now, farmed fish, everything's high pH. And you can find any fish and put it in high pH water pretty much. I had wild Altum angelfish in my tap water. They thrived in it. As long as you watch what's going on and you're careful and you pay attention and, and you learn these things with fish. And a lot of people jump in and want to mix a bunch of fish together. And I always don't recommend that either, because you want to get to learn the species you're dealing with. And then once you learn them, then you know what's going on. Then you can start maybe doing that community tank and mixing in some other fish. But yeah, back to point. You're 100% right, Tammy.
Tom Neeb wants to know if it's true that you cannot mix Asians with Germans.
That's not true.
Before, it is absolutely not true.
That is not true at all. That's so yeah, let's say the German fish has the herpes virus. Well, yeah, of course, then you cannot mix it with other fish. But again, this is a virus, and most viruses go dormant and actually run their course, and it's over. So it's not an existing problem where it just keeps happening every time. And a lot of diseases work the same way as most of these viruses. So yeah, that's a total false statement. I've never been a fan of people that believe that. And there are a lot of people that believe that. So don't, feel bad about bringing it up and us not agreeing with you. It's just a point where experience kind of weighs out the inexperienced. And I'm not sure how many tanks you have and how long you've been doing this, but I've imported and I've done it, everything you can possibly do with discus for the longest part of time. And I would still say to those people, you are wrong, who believe that. But it's spread. It's a big sales pitch for some people. It's a deterrent for others for making sales and stopping sales and getting sales. And that's why it's such a rampant rumor. But I totally disagray with it, 100%. And so would my pathologist.
Mine too. Something that I want to mention, since we're on the topic of the herpes virus, cross-contamination is absolutely not the discus plague. The discus plague was thought to be a virus, and they thought it to be the herpes virus, and hundreds of thousands of fish were destroyed in the process of eliminating the virus from the hobby. But cross-contamination, a lot of people don't want to admit, hey, I've made a mistake. I've put this discus in here. It wasn't ready. It wasn't quarantined. It got sick. They're blaming it on something that no longer exists in the hobby. It's cross-contamination. It's not discus plague. That's two totally different things.
Right.
And I agree, mixed Asians and Germans, absolutely.
Yeah, I've done so myself, and I've have fish from lots of different continents, so I don't totally not believe that. But my point I was going to make was, and discus reacts. So you got ick, your discus turns black and will build up a secondary infection from any parasite. So now it's got a bacterial infection. So now it's black and slimy. Velvet, same thing. Just a plain bacterial infection. It can be Citrobacter, Aeronomus. It can be Columnaris, Mycob. It could be all kinds of different bacteria. And the discus is going to react the same. It's going to get black. It's going to get slimy. It's going to clamp. They're going to huddle. They're going to lay on the bottom. Certain different infections will react a little different. And some fish will react different than other fish, just like with humans. With this COVID thing, not everyone's going to die from it. Some people are mild cases. Some people are severe cases. This is the same thing that's going to happen with your fish. Some you'll lose during a water change. Everything's fine. Some just can't handle certain things. There's weaker, there's different immunity systems, especially when you're dealing with different varieties of strains or morphs. They're not all created equal. And this is what, selective breeding and inbreeding does. But you just gotta know this, that they're gonna turn black. They're gonna get all slimy. I mean, for just an array of different things. So to pinpoint and say, oh, it's discus plague, because when they did have plague and they had the virus, they did the same thing. Black, slimy, laid on the bottom, huddled in the corner, eyes got cloudy, frayed fins, etc. Depending on what each individual did to treat the fish, there might have been other reactions. So it's really hard to say, but that's my main point is you're going to get these same effects of sickness from a multitude of different diseases.
Yes, absolutely. The biggest difference, and I talked to a lot of people. I've talked to Carrie about the discus plague. I've talked to Hans about the discus plague, and I've talked to other people too. And the biggest difference with the discus plague was the smell. They all said that there was a very distinctive smell when it was the actual herpes virus or the discus plague, where our cross-contamination doesn't have that. I've dealt with it more than once. It can be extremely fatal. I mean, you can lose a lot of fish because of cross-contamination, even if you're treating.
Right.
The reason that we tell people to be so careful about cross-contamination. And Bob asked a really good question, Carrie, and I really want to address it.
Okay.
He wants to know if there's a way to cross-contaminate all your tanks so that your fish are interchangeable. In my opinion, once you put fish in, they are getting cross-contaminated slowly, little, so that they're building up an immune system to it.
Right.
What are your thoughts on it, Carrie?
I would agree with Bob as far as where he's going with his question. So for instance, here's an example. So I was one of those guys that would go on the forums and say, I mixed my fish and nothing happened. And I did it again and nothing happened. And I did it 2 more times and nothing happened. And before you know it, I had 50 tanks full of discus. Still skating by on the skin of my teeth, thinking I know what I'm doing and not doing what I'm supposed to do and what everyone's saying to do. Just not following orders. And eventually it catches up to you. Lost a lot of fish. I have lots of videos of piles of fish with many different things. And, once you go through that, then you got to learn how to treat and what you're dealing with and how to go about it. So then there's another, $5,000 in training. Now you got to get into medicines and stuff like that. But so after blah, 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 I learned all that and go through all that. Finally learned, there's a problem. You can't just be mixing discus with discus from other sources or mixing fish from your tank with new stuff or old stuff. It just doesn't work. It can happen, and it hurts, man. It really hurts when you put a lot of time and money and pride into what you're doing, and then to lose it all, after a year. I have actually finally got the hatchery going. Had a multiple, hundreds of tanks of discus, and still wasn't following rules. Cross contamination. I'm treating 5-6 tanks. Next day, I'm treating 12 tanks. Next day, 12 more tanks. As the week draws out, by the time this is over, we're 3-4 months in of treating fish and chasing this around the whole hatchery. The next time it happened and I messed up again, I pretty much took water out of the infected tank and I dipped it in all the other tanks and infected everybody at one time. And within 2 weeks, I had it under control and everything back to normal, and it worked out pretty good. I'm not saying that it was a very severe case, but there are severe cases than others. But that's kind of what I did to, instead of chasing it around. There's just, once you get it in your hatchery and you have tanks so close together, the high humidity, you're trying to work with 100 tanks and you got, only so many nets and hands and buckets, and you got people coming in, and you slip up. Sometimes you just make that mistake and you're not thinking because you're in a hurry. It happens. And, it wasn't fun chasing around for 6 months. I'll tell you that. That's what I did the last time I messed up. And that was the very last time I ever messed up again. And I'll never do it again, because it was a lot of money in medications, a lot of loss in good fish that I raised, and it was pretty bad. So yeah, definitely. I that's kind of how I'd go about it.
And I want to add something to that. Carrie mentioned the high humidity in the fish room. If you've got a bacteria like Aeromonas that's infecting the fish, with that humidity, that Aeromonas can take to the air and transfer from tank to tank via the air droplets that are in that humidity. So if you have a quarantine tank, it's actually better to have it in a different room.
Yes. Awesome.
So
totally recommend that. I know you can get away with it. So say you're just a hobbyist, you have 5-6 tanks and they're kind of spread out. Well, you could probably get away with it and quarantine your fish and not have any accidents, but you still got to be really careful because accidents can happen. I would say definitely easier for people that are just, 5, 6, 7 tanks, where you have guys that have, like me, tanks just next to each other, boom, 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 in rows. That is just, it's insane. It's almost impossible. But, guys that are like just hobbyists having, the smaller tanks, a little more spread out, it's a little easier to get away with it for sure.
Right. And you look at mine's stacked 3 high, 55 gallons, 3 high next to
right.
So, I'm always at risk too, but we plan to use the old fish room in the house for our quarantine hospital room. So I just have to refinish it. I want to say something, Amanda. Happy birthday, girl.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
And yes, Amanda, I remember when you did your cross contamination. That was not fun. What is the best thing to use during cross contamination? Salt is number one. I use salt for everything.
First thing to do.
Absolutely.
Turn off your lights, turn down your heater, add salt.
And if you have it on hand, which I know Hans, and Hans, I hope you're feeling better. Hans had a massive heart attack last week, guys.
God bless you, Hans.
At home. He's offering the Riddick Plus with all of his shipments, because Riddick Plus has formalin in it, and the malachite green and the formalin combined seems to help a lot with the bacterial infections that they get for the cross contamination. We're also recommending, if you don't have Riddick Plus, because you do need to start treatment quickly, if you have nitrofurazone or furin 2, to use that, because you really need to start a treatment immediately. Carrie.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree on that as well. We kind of went over the first steps to take, and then those are definitely the second steps. You need to get on top of it quickly as possible, and at the same time, keeping your water quality at its pristine. You know, you want to change your water still in between. You don't want to just keep adding this stuff to your tank. You don't want to add it to your tank, especially if your sponge filters are full of organic decomposing matter. Your walls are slimy, your bottom's full of debris. You got to really go the extra mile to get these fish through this. It's not just about pouring magic potion in.
Right. When they have cross contamination, their slime coat is coming off in droves, and your tank is going to be covered in that slime coat, and the bacteria is going to be on that. You've really got to keep that cleaned out. And like he said, keep the tank clean. If the tank isn't clean, the fish are going to be stressed, and the bacteria are opportunistic bacteria.
Right.
So as soon as your fish starts getting really stressed out, that's when those bacteria really attack the fish.
Right. And another thing I'd like to bring up is a lot of people think antibiotics, bacteria, antibiotics, bacterial, antibiotics. I need to use antibiotics. You're saying it's a bacterial. Well, half of the meds, oxidizers and chemicals and antifungal and antibacterial agents that are used for parasites work on bacteria. And that's probably the safest route to go first than to use an antibiotic, because the antibiotic, you're guessing. Different antibiotics do different things, and different bacteria react different to certain antibiotics, and they have different life cycles. They're not all created equal. They are very, 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 very unique and very different.
And we talked about that last week in the bacteria live stream, about which medication for which bacterial infection, because each one is different.
Right, because people get confused. They're like, "Oh, I got the Discus plague. They're black." Everyone's like, "Use Riddick Plus." They're like, "I don't have it." They're not understanding why we're recommending this medication and what the purpose and what it does. So, I mean, just to clear that up, a lot of oxidizers are not only for parasites; they are mainly used on bacterial as well. So,
I don't recommend PP. Too many people are using it, far too much of it in the tank with the Discus, and it does do damage to the gills. Formalin is much easier to administer, and that's formaldehyde, 37%. I do know a lot of people use PP and they know how to use it safely, but if you don't know how to use it safely, then you're doing damage to your Discus, and I just am not about that.
Right. You gotta be like, bam, right in the middle. Not enough, you're not doing any help. Too much, you're doing damage. I'm not a big fan of doing put it in the tank and let the fish sit for 6-7 hours and keeping the tank purple. I'm not a big fan of that, especially if I went over this before. Driftwood. I mean, I just recently treated the tank with Braziquento. There are no fish in it. I was trying to kill snails. Those son of a bitches all went past the water column, out of the water, and they lived on the humidity for a week until the Praziquanto was out of the tank. When they went back down, they put their little finger in there and touched it. Oh, it's gone. And they all went back into the water. No, I'm serious. And that's what parasites do too. Don't think that flukes and all kinds of parasites will not try to escape. They will find dead spots in your tank. They will find little crevices and driftwood, decorations behind the silicone. That's why I'm not a big fan of that long bath PP treatment in a tank. Never, ever.
I've
seen it firsthand.
Riddick Plus is available in Canada. Francis Barreto, if you can post the link, I don't know if you can even do that. I could possibly do it in the Canadian group. And PP came up. We do not recommend PP.
PP.
How many days, Francis? The minimum days for the nitrofurazone should be probably 7. I'd have to look it up to be for sure. And you have that book, so you could probably tell me faster. See. Yeah, happy. It's easy to get PP in Canada. I do realize that. I have people that are using the PP treatment in Canada on fry, and they're using too dark of a treatment. It should be a really super light pink. And what I've seen people using is too dark. It's doing damage.
What I would recommend with PP, and I've done this many times, but you can't do this and put the fish back in the same tank. So if you want to use PP and you really have no other choice and you really have to do something, and it will help, but the most important thing, and I've said this before, grab all those fish, do a PP bath. Well, actually not a bath, it's a dip. We're talking like a 3-minute dip, but the fish have to be moved to a brand new cycled tank ready to go. You never want to dip them in this little short bath dip, blah, 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 whatever you want to call it, and put them back in the existing tank. That's just not what you do, because now you've stripped the fish of everything that was protecting them, and you still probably have the problem in the tank. Even if you did baths in the tank, like I said, they can, parasites will hide. It doesn't kill the eggs. Another key, doesn't kill any eggs of any parasites. So now you got eggs rehatching. Now the fish is naked, has no protective slime coat. And yeah, you know what happens after that. So if you do have to use PP, I definitely recommend a quick dip and then move to a new cycle tank. It might be hard for some people, I know, but that is the best way to go about it, in my opinion.
We use formaldehyde, so
I do too. I'm a big fan of formaldehyde. Yeah, that's one that you can use right in the tank. It's a 24-hour oxidizer, and it oxidizes at a much quicker rate than PP does, and it doesn't leave a lot of fallout like PP. PP has tons of fallout, and even when you neutralize it, you are squeezing out your filters for weeks. Your fish actually get that brown filament stuck in their gills. Even in a dip, even if you do that little 3-minute dip, the fish are carrying that stuff on them. I mean, that stuff is very, very, very. It has a lot of breakdown organic matter after it oxidizes, and that's the bad thing with the PP.
Let me see if I can open this. He's using 0.30 grams to 50 gallons of water. And you're supposed to pre-mix PP before it's used into a diluted form. And then you're supposed to put so many drops per gallon or something like that.
Right. It's a slow dissolver too. So if you're taking pure powder and throwing it in your tank and you're going, ooh, I'm happy with the color, it's
Here, let's see if this works. This is supposed to be the color. Can you see it, Carrie?
Yeah, I can see it.
It's about right. That's the color of PP for fry. No darker than that.
Right. That's about right.
So
I do a 1/8 teaspoon to 5 gallons for a dip. And that's only a 3-minute dip. And that's dark purple. It's so dark.
Anything more than 2 milligrams to liter of active ingredient are not considered safe for fish.
Yes.
So there's that. I don't know. 0.3 grams is 3 milligrams.
It's almost 3.7,
Yeah.
4, yeah, almost a quarter. Well, yeah.
We're bad.
I need a scale. I need a scale to figure it all out.
Yeah, and see, that's, yeah. I mean, I've got my scale in the fish room for that. So 200 milliliter, 0.3 to 200 milliliters, and then add 250 gallons. Okay. I said the color that I pulled up is the color of a treatment. And that doesn't actually say that that is a treatment for fry. That actually says that that is the color of the treatment.
Right.
I've seen some that were so dark you could almost not see the fish, and all I could think was their gill filaments are probably fried.
It's a quick fix. It's something you can do to get by until you can do something else, or you can keep on doing it and running your fish down until they just can't take it anymore. And that's eventually what happens with heavy PP users.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't use it. So, I mean, I used it once. I saw how the fish reacted to it, and I haven't touched it since. I mean, they were almost gasping for air, and I didn't use it anymore after that. I said, no more.
Well, I mean, I have, like I said, in the past, I've done it. I used to use it a lot. It was the big thing back then. And, man, it does tear up the fish really bad, but the recovery with salt and use a little bit of alone juice or stress coat with alone in it. The recovery the next day on some of the fish are just remarkable.
Right.
But again, in a week, you're back to where you started. You got the same problems again, especially if you're trapped in a hatchery and all your tanks are full and you can't move anything. You're stuck, but in this case, we're more hobbyists and there's a better route. Definitely.
Right. You guys got more questions?
Questions.
I just got a message from my daughter. She's on the way home from the hospital. So
yay.
I'm very happy.
You should be, Grandma. Knocked out like instant family. Just add water. One boy, one girl.
Yeah, one boy, one girl. No more after this, because she's already got 2 girls and he's got a son. So I've got now 6 grandchildren.
Yeah. Extend that deck.
Have you ever seen contamination from a frozen beef heart food? That is possible. And the reason that I say that is if the meat before it was processed was left out too long, it could have grown bacteria on it. And I'm not 100% sure that the freezing process actually kills that bacteria.
Right.
I don't know that it does.
Well, that's, again, bacteria are unique in their own way, and many can handle freezing processes, different heat elevations, things like that. Pass through the air, pass through humidity, and that's how they work. That's what makes them unique.
Yeah.
So, and the same thing, I'll bring that up too. Same with all your frozen foods, and beef heart being one of them. Yeah, it can happen with bloodworms. It can happen with any frozen food that's been unthawed and refrozen. You're not supposed to eat. Humans as us, we're not supposed to eat steaks that were unthawed and then frozen again. You're just not supposed to do that kind of stuff. Right. People do, but that's how it goes. Live food, same thing. I've never been a big believer on blackworms to carry parasites, but I know they can carry different types of bacteria and pass it on to your fish. And that's going to be considered with any live food. And frozen foods and dry foods. The freeze drying process doesn't kill a lot of different parasite eggs that are known to fish, but not very common in tropical fish, but it happens. It does. So yes, you need to be careful.
Thanks, Kim.
She found a struggler.
No, she said congrats for the grandbabies. It was
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
I had twin grandbabies. So
Yes, that's awesome.
it's awesome. What else we got, Carrie? I want to bring this up before you do. I'm sorry, Carrie.
No, you're fine.
I want to offer my condolences to Kenny Chung's family.
Say it again.
We need to offer our condolences to Kenny Chung's family.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
We haven't streamed since. Well, I did stream since then. No, I didn't stream since then. So, we lost a good person in the hobby, and that's hard.
We lost someone in the hobby that did something that no other person could do, not even myself, because I don't have the patience to do what Kenny did. But what he did and how he tried to make things better, he didn't get online and try to help, get on the forums and try to help everyone with diseases and this and that. He did it a different way by, bringing in good fish and making sure they were clean and, passing on the excitement and the experience of raising and keeping good fish and not having problems. And that's what Kenny did. And he did it in a whole new different way. He created it. Mm-hmm. He created what a lot of people are trying to do now, trying to copy him. But he is the master. He is a pioneer in himself and what he has done. That's for sure. God Absolutely. Bless him and his family.
That's been a hard loss for the hobby. I mean,
yeah.
So many times, and he helped me with some issues I was having.
I mean, I love the guy. I would call him, I'm like, Kenny, man, send me 10 of those reds. Oh, Carrie, you don't want those. You don't want those. They don't have the body shape you like. This is what you want. You need to buy those. I don't want that color, Kenny. Well, Carrie, what do you like better? Well, I like good body shape. Well, this is what you need to buy. And God dang it, every time he's 100%. I mean, I love the fish. Not what I was after, but in the end, I was thrilled with him. He just didn't let you buy what you wanted. He told you what to buy and showed you what to buy.
Right.
He figured out what you were after and what you really wanted. And it wasn't just, all right, yeah, boom, 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 order. Okay, I sent him Friday. The guy spent time with you. He went over things with you. I mean, that you're not going to find that again. That's going to be hard to come by. Very hard to come by.
Now, I wanted to order the platinum albinos from him, and he called me on the phone and he says, I can't let you buy those. And I said, why? I want them. He's like, no, they're peppered. He says, you don't want them. They're peppered. I'm like, well, crap. But he wouldn't sell you something if he didn't like the way it looked. He wasn't going to sell it to you.
Yep. He would fill you out for the right reasons, not the wrong reasons.
Right.
To make a sale.
And Hans
bottom line.
Too. I mean, Hans is real good about that too.
Yep.
With people that may be cross-contaminating fish and stuff. He won't sell you what you're asking for. He will give you maybe one or two and see how it goes. And then if they work out, then he'll sell you more. Anybody that does that is amazing.
I also want to bring up Linda and Doug at Golden Gate.
Right.
Linda is another one who goes out of her way. She, oh my God, the conversations me and her have had over fish in the past. I've dealt with them when they first started out, and they go beyond and beyond to make people happy. So I'd like to give them kudos, just for that and put it out there.
Right. And there's other ones. I mean, we can't sit here. We'd be here all day trying to list all of the people that you should really look to. I'm really liking some of the stuff that comes out of Delight. Carrie's got some, Bob Fryer's got some, and I really like those fish that they've gotten.
Yeah. I've known Hugh for a long time. He's always been about quality fish. He's not the type of guy you go to buy one red, one blue, one green, one yellow 2-inch fish. This guy's going to bring you in some nice subadults, adult fish. You know, if you don't have the patience and you want to jump right into breeding, this is your guy. You know, you're looking to stock a nice 90-gallon tank in your living room that you have decorated and you want some nice shellfish, that's your guy. You want something healthy, nothing you want to really deal with, you know, that's your guy. I mean, that's your guy. Definitely.
Okay, Susan Baden, I'm going to ask you a question on what you just asked. Are you talking about adding a sick fish, one that you pulled out of the quarantine or out of the main tank and put in quarantine, or are you talking about new fish coming in? Because the question is, how long should one quarantine a fish before adding it back to the main tank? And I need to know if you're talking about a new fish or are you talking about one that got sick and you're wanting to put it back in the main tank?
Yeah, that's very important. Definitely important.
No, Bob, I've heard good things about that guy, Kerry Strong, too. I've heard some really good things about him. He's out of Michigan. He has some really pretty fish.
Yeah, I do all right. I'm a little high strung. I'm a little old and been through all of it, so I don't have a lot of patience, but I still try. I probably shouldn't post in the morning because I'm crabby. I should wait till late afternoon after I've had my coffee. So other than that, yeah, I try to help. I try to reach out and try to answer everyone. I'm a little short, but I'm also very busy and I do what I can.
Okay. Susan, I'm going to come to you in just a minute. Somebody's asked about cooking the beef heart to avoid bacterial infections. I think if you're cooking the meat, you remove a lot of the nutrients in it.
Yeah. Yeah, the same's going to happen with freeze dried or any product flakes, anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Tom, I wouldn't bother with cooking the meat. It sounds like you're doing pretty much what we do, but I would take the tilapia out.
Yeah, take the tilapia out, especially if they're farmed tilapia, which probably all tilapia are farmed.
Yeah, but they're freshwater, and if they carry anything, any bacteria or anything, you're giving it to your fish.
Yes, especially virus.
Water.
They are bottom feeders. They are used in all fish farms to clean the bottom of the tanks, of the ponds. They clean up all the waste from all the other fish, and they're used in every pond for farmed fish. Most of them. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't trust it.
Right. All right. Susan is talking about fish that are taken out of the main tank and put into quarantine. How long before they should go back to the main tank? I would say at least a week after they're cured from whatever's going on, at least a week.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, being that it's an existing fish, you don't really have too much to worry about a bacteria issue or being spread to the healthy fish. So you can just not worry about that at all. What you want to do though is make sure that the treatment you did perform on the fish, it did work and the fish is reacting a little better. And yeah, I'd say about a week after treatment and clean water and without meds. And even sometimes adding it maybe a little sooner might not hurt because just the subtleness of the group being back with the group sometimes stimulates that individual to just start eating again and doing well again. But you know, there's always relapse too that can happen depending on its immunity. So yeah, definitely wait about a week and make sure. I agree with Tammy.
Yeah. You guys got questions? Now we really appreciate you guys coming to watch.
Yeah, awesome, man. That's great.
It's absolutely amazing. Again, you know, we're just here to help you guys out. Get the information to you. There's so much bad information out there about, you know, different things, just like the not mixing the Germans and the Asians, and
yeah,
all of that can be done. We just want you guys to know how to do it and do it correctly.
Yep. Tammy's not in discus business. I'm not in discus business. I used to be in discus business. I had a website. I sold fish. I imported fish. I've been through it. I know what it is to import fish, to go through disease, to sell fish, to read customers, to do what you got to do to make sales and make money at doing it. I have no problem with any of that. I just, I'm a little, not saying everyone's out to get you, but I just couldn't do it anymore. You'd always get, especially when you imported, you always got meat and you always got potatoes, and you had to figure out who those potatoes went to. And I just couldn't do it anymore. So I'm not here to knock anybody or make myself any higher. I'm here to help as well. I have experience in raising, breeding, importing, exporting, shipping, selling, disease, pathologists. I just want to help, and that's the only reason why I'm here. So
yeah, absolutely. We're not getting paid to do this. We're doing this because we really care about the fish. We care about the discus.
A hobby, most of all, the hobby.
And it's a hobby. Yeah.
Yeah, keep it going. I mean, it's so bad with some of these guys, and people jump in. I want to get some discus, and they buy from the wrong seller, and that's where all your rumors come from. Oh my God, the fish is impossible. Oh my God, I can't change that much water. The fish just never, right. A lot of them are getting sold these bad genetic defects. These guys are picking up for $5 a pop. They're selling them to you for 30. They're already sick. So you don't stand a chance, especially if you're not really learned about the fish or know anything too much about it yet, and you're just wanting that fish. But that it happens a lot. People jump in this week and they're gone next week. 30 new people, and one will probably make it out of that many every week.
Yeah, and we see all the time on the groups, and we're in most of the groups. I just joined a new one this morning. So Bob Fryer asked, when is a discus too far to keep treating? And I think that's a fish by fish basis.
Yeah, I'd have to say the same thing. It would depend on the individual. If I have to treat the fish again for the second time, that's usually a good sign that, yeah, this guy's just not worth it anymore. Relapse. That's in my head, and I've seen it over and over again. But yeah, for sure.
And something I want to mention to everybody that's watching, this talk is discus talk, but a lot of our topics are going to be able to be crossed over to other species. If you have a group that you want to share the YouTube channel in, please do so. The more people learn, the better they are in the hobby as a whole, regardless of what fish they have. As far as our quarantine, my minimum quarantine is 6 weeks. Somebody had asked this earlier. I treat what is necessary to treat, meaning that if a fish is skinny, I'm probably going to use praziquantel and see if they have any worms. I'm going to check microscope to see if they have roundworm or if they have hexameta, and treat accordingly. We have some in quarantine right now that have been in quarantine longer. Some of them, I just don't trust the source, or they come from somewhere I'm unsure of. I'll keep them longer in quarantine just to be on the safe side.
Yep. That's pretty much what I do. It's pretty much a 6-week quarantine, basically for bacteria. It's a balance of now getting this fish that's carrying this bacteria from another country or another hobbyist tank, balancing that out with my quality of water and my care, and eventually being able to mix those fish. And like Tammy said, from there, it's just observing the fish, seeing how he reacts, seeing how he eats. And let's say the fish does have Capriella, but the fish is eating well, he's gaining weight, he's doing good. That's what you want. After the 6-week quarantine, now before you move this fish, you do a little feces sample, and then go over all that and make sure before you do your final mix. And from there, then you can treat again. And now this fish is super healthy and he can handle this treatment. So patience is a big key.
Yeah. Do you agree that Stenker discus are much more hardy than other discus and hence worth the premium price? I have Stenkers. I ordered 30 of them last year. The reason that I like the Stenkers is they tend to get bigger. As far as more hardy, they're all susceptible to the same bacteria, the same parasites. I don't think anyone is more susceptible to the other, but you've got to keep them in good water quality. If you keep good water quality, feed them good foods, a good variety of food, and keep them healthy, they won't get sick. Gary?
Right. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I would definitely agree with you on the most of the German fish being a larger fish, a thicker fish.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. But at the same time, you're going to find that with some of the Asian fish. But the problem with the Asian fish is they're more into making new creations, new color morphs, new varieties. That's what their game is. And that's where they make their money at, is creating these new creations. But when you're doing all that, there's intense inbreeding, a lot of back crossing, and just that right there weakens the fish. So you're not getting as many, of these great giant fish. Don't get me wrong, the Asians can grow some very big fish, but when you're doing all that for these crazy golden spotteds and these calicos and things like that, this puts smaller body size on them. So, if you're after buying 8 of the same type of this type of fish from someone, you're going to get, probably not the largest fish. You might end up with a couple big ones and a couple mediums and some smaller ones. But, they're not as large and prolific. And that's going to, again, depend on the strain or variety you go with. And of course, the breeder. Breeders have ethics. Some do, some don't. And that's just the way it goes. And same with sellers. I can call somebody right now, like, hey, I've been selling blue diamonds, cobalts online, and I ran out, so I need some more. And they're like, well, how much you want to pay? And I'm like, $5. Well, what do you think I'm going to get? Not going to get the best. And it's all, there's a lot to do with a lot of the type of fish you're getting. But I mean, yeah, I would agree that the Asian fish is a little bit smaller, more compact fish than the German fish. Hello.
Yeah, I'm reading Susan's question. I'm not quite understanding it. Says some meds say to treat the tank, then wait 48 hours and treat again. And then after another 24 hours, do 25% water change. But she was told to do daily water changes in the tank.
Right. So stop it right there. So Susan, the people that are making these meds and these people that are selling these meds, they have a whole different routine. And this is why they sell lots of meds and why the retailers sell lots of meds. So when the medication is made by this retailer who makes the medication, they are not saying, oh, Susan has discus fish. They're thinking about every other fish, tetras, live bearers, South Americans, Africans. So they have to keep in mind that people are using their medication for all different species of fish. So they're not going to really lock in on the dose or the treatment or how the fish reacts to its conditions as far as water quality and this and that. So you have to really think, okay, so you have discus. So you know all the rules to keep in discus. So the rules on this medication are a little different because they're being safe for other species. So that's where you're going to get this little flaw between how to treat, what to treat, how long to treat, and what to do with the water change. But you have to think, you have discus. This is how we keep them healthy. This is what we do. So we're going to have to spend a little more money and do that water change the next day and redose and not listen to what the recommendations are on the retailers that's selling you this product. because that's kind of how it works. I hope I'm not confusing you because I'm babbling on, but
No, and I'm bad about doing that too, because
yeah,
Metro, I think, is, no, that's probably not a good example. Praziquantel stays in the water, but if you were recommended to do daily water changes because you're also treating for something else, then you need to add the praziquantel daily. Maybe for the amount of water that you remove rather than the full dose, but you do need prazi back to the water.
Exactly.
And that's all about, we have gram scales in our fish rooms to measure out the medication, because we know how many milligrams we're supposed to use. And two, that's going to depend on the medication, because some of the medications that they sell tell you to do a dose every other day or something like that. And then some of those doses actually need to be done every day. Some of them may not need to be done, but every 3 days.
Yep. And many of them are light sensitive, heat sensitive, pH sensitive. So there's a lot of things to put together.
Yeah. I mean, everything when we talk about, Carrie is messaging with somebody, or I'm messaging with somebody, the stuff that I tell them is specific for their issue. It may not work for somebody else, but it's going to be specific for what they have going on.
Right.
Colin, I don't see any issue with that. He's wanting to send me a message, so he may be having an issue, but yeah, that's fine. Carrie, I don't know. I mean, you're the same. I think every issue is different. Something I want to ask you guys to do. We got 20 something people or maybe more watching. If you're messaging somebody and asking for advice, please don't message everybody. Message. Carrie and I have similar approaches on a lot of stuff, but we also do different approaches to some things. And you're going to get an answer depending on who you're talking to.
Right.
You really need to stick with one person and not talk to like 5 different people and get 5 different answers. Right. You need a person that you can talk to, and that's it.
Yes, I agree. Stick with somebody that's known on the forums. Stick with someone that has, helped other people. I mean, it's pretty easy to figure out. You just need to spend a little time and do a little investigating, and you can figure out. You're like, oh, why is this Tammy chick always posting and helping people? Why is this person doing that? And you can come to the conclusion on who you need to talk to. But I mean, I know people panic and they get all, I'm going to ask all these people. I don't know. And it's really hard to figure out who knows what and who does what. But, at the same time, you're just confusing yourself more and not knowing what to do. And then you're jumping from treatment to treatment because he said this and she said that. And this ain't, and most meds take, 4 or 5 days to really start kicking in. So, if you're 3 days in, you're not seeing any kind of, improvement, you're ready to jump into something else. And I understand that. I've been through that, but you really got to be patient. And like Tam said, stick with somebody. I'm bad at it. I'll sometimes get in a hurry. I'm like expressing myself right now and telling you things react different to pH, temperatures, lighting, blah, 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 where I might not do that sometimes when I'm in a hurry and you're asking me to help you out. It happens, just life itself is busy.
Oh, we lost Carrie's sound.
Uh-oh. Did you?
Only for a second.
All right.
It was something else I was about to say. Bob said he's going to stick with who he's using now. I don't know if that's me or you. One of us, or maybe both of us.
He's going to test us.
Yeah, really. Oh, water changes. Yes, water changes. All the time, water changes. If you've got anybody acting a little weird, do a water change. If they're acting really weird, add some salt. We had an incident, and we're thinking it was something with the water. The stinkers that I got last year, they were probably about 4.5 inches. And we would go in and they would all be sitting at the bottom and acting just lethargic and just not acting normal, because these guys are pigs. I mean, if you come in the fish room, they're at the top at the time. So what did I do? we did a water change and I added salt. Within 15 minutes of the water change, they were ready to eat. They were happy. They were swimming around, acting normal. I mean, it just, sometimes you don't have to add medicine.
Black bag. I'm sorry.
Annette says that we should charge for consultations. Annette, we do this because we love the fish. We love the hobby. We want to have everybody else love the hobby with us.
Yes. And we want the hobby to continue and we want the hobby to grow. That's the whole point of all of it, for sure. That's my main objective.
I added, I got two new hobbyists coming up. Got 6 total coming up, Y'all had to excuse me. I'm a proud grandmama, so I'm putting my sweater on. The wind is starting to get chilly.
Yeah, it's getting a little chilly here too.
Annette, oh, you were the one that messaged me, weren't you? And I'm going to wait for the response on that. Yeah, you guys have it colder up there in Michigan.
Yeah, it's probably like 50 today. It's not doing bad.
We had 80s last week, and all of a sudden we hit the 60s this week. And it's going to be a week before we get back up there.
The koi are starting to come up. Let's see if I can get them in there. I had to plug my phone in because I forgot to charge it. Oh, they're all like... You guys ready to eat? Yeah, they always want to eat. They're worse than Discus. They actually bag at the edge of the water when we're sitting out here.
Well, Carrie and I have rules that we follow when we're giving advice. My biggest rule is to cause no harm to the fish. My treatments are usually going to be the safest treatments that I can come up with for that particular problem. I think Carrie does the same, but he knows a little bit more about different treatments than I do.
I like to use you guys as experiments, so I know what to do with my fish. I'm kidding.
Okay, Carrie, I am just now seeing the koi video because I'm actually watching on the YouTube, but that is awesome. That is absolutely awesome.
I was kidding.
No, we're not experimenting with your fish. I experiment with
That was a joke.
Well, I experiment with mine. If something's not working, and it's been a couple of weeks, I give them a break and then I try something different.
Hey, I'm telling you, me and you have talked about it, but that's how I learned a lot. After learning how to breed and raise up the fry and getting up to a size where they're really considered a discus, from there, when you get so many, you can start messing around and trying things. And I've learned a lot just by doing that.
Right. That's how I learned that I didn't like PP treatments.
Yes, me too.
That's also how I learned that I didn't like Melifix, because it actually exact thing. Same exact thing. The Melifix did. The fish were gasping for air and their gills were just flaring open. And I'm just like, let's do a water change. Let's get the water.
Hey, it's great on guppies and cold water fish, but not so good in warmer temps at all. That's where all that conflict comes in. It's like, but you can't. It's hard to explain all that and go over all the different medications and all the different diseases, and there's just it's so much.
I'll tell you, with a bacterial infection, I'm not big on using the holistic for bacterial infections, for infections.
Right.
Maybe for treating the water or treating the water column for bacteria, maybe, but not. I would much rather use an antibiotic for an infection.
Right. That was my point earlier when I was gabbing on, but my point about the antibiotics is I'm not a big fan for antibiotics for external problems with discus. It's more so an internal problem, eating away at the flesh, hole in the head, things like that, just skinny and not eating at all. Then I'll maybe turn to antibiotics, but never, ever for external. Never.
Not for slime coat issues.
Well, maybe Aeromonas, but Columnaris, but that's kind of rare. You haven't seen that too much, Columnaris anyways, but Aranomus is always present, and it's just a matter of you're not being clean enough. You got to keep the tank clean. You're keeping that high pH again. You need to stay on top of it. You got to keep them clean. They love to be clean.
And I absolutely want to mention again about the Aeromonas, because certain medications can cause Aeromonas to bloom.
Yes.
There's not really, because you're always going to have it. You try to keep your numbers down, but if you use the wrong medication, you can cause a bacteria bloom.
Yep.
Of Aeromonas, and that stuff is nasty. So definitely keeping a clean tank helps with that.
Yep.
That's getting quiet.
What happened?
The chat got quiet. Shh, everybody be quiet. I know there's some more questions out there. Somebody's just dying to ask it.
Come on, ask them now. Don't post it later. Where's all those breeders at? Come on. I know you got some questions.
Yep.
After this, I'm not answering my messenger. I got a barbecue after this. I'm going to barbecue after this.
Yeah. What are your plans for the checkerboards next?
Well, I put the two pairs together, and I have eggs on both. They are very destructive parents. They both want to take care of the eggs, and I finally come to realize that I'm probably going to have to remove the males and see what the females do by themselves, because they're just both of the parents are just these males. I've never seen males like this, but that's how they are. So yeah, I think the only way I'm going to get some fry out of them is to really separate the males after they spawn, because they're just going crazy. They both want to take care of them so bad. And if anyone gets too close, it's a fight every time. So yeah, very different fish. They're Vietnam fish. The eggs are much bigger. Everything's a little different about them. Even Vietnam albinos are different from other albino discus. The eggs are bigger. The fry are much bigger when they hatch. There's a little difference to them. So yeah, I'm still trying to figure them out. But that's what it looks like it's going to have to happen.
Right.
Unfortunately, and I'm lazy to do that kind of stuff. I want it easy. But yeah, they're going to make me work.
Yeah, we're having a similar issue with the yellows, but we don't know which parent is eating them. They get them to the wiggler stage, they start scattering and they eat them. So
you can't be there all the time. It's like, damn it, now I got to buy cameras and videotape you guys.
Which we've got them covered right now. They're sitting on wiggler stage, and we've got a cage over, but they lay on the glass, so we had to make a special cover for it.
More work.
And this time they're sitting back, so we'll see. I'm hopeful.
Yep. So now your $20 discus just went up to $25. You got to pay for that special screen and your time.
Yeah. Francis Barreto read that F and MG are light sensitive. I do not know what MG is, but I'm assuming the F is formalin, and formalin is light sensitive. However, formaldehyde is not.
He's probably talking about furan 2 and malachite green.
That could be.
They are. Metro is too. A lot of them are tetracycline, a lot of different medications and chemicals.
Tom said I was going to make a statement about metronidazole. Do I have cautions in the morning? Yes, do not overdose metronidazole.
It's very forgiving, but you should.
Yeah, I wouldn't use it more than 14 days, and I wouldn't use it. Absolutely not.
I try to go 5 at the most, sometimes 8 if I have to, but
yeah, I say I try to run it between 5 and 7. So
yeah. Not before I do Metro, not to interrupt you guys, sorry. But the first thing I do before Metro is high heat, get it up to 90s, get some Epsom salt in there, clean those fish out. And then from there, see what's going on. You'll notice them maybe even picking a little bit after the high temperature for 3 or 4 days before you even start to add Metro. And from there, if they're not still eating well, then go ahead with the Metro. But you'd be surprised what sometimes just the high heat and Epsom salt alone will do. Just for a week, it does change them. It helps a lot. So, again, patience.
Yeah. As far as any other warnings with metronidazole, I really don't have any. It's a good medication to use for parasites. I wouldn't use it as an antibiotic, but I would definitely use it for like hexamida, protoopalina, and that type of thing. Kim Walker said that the checkerboard males that she got from you are good dads.
Are good dads?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't want to hear that, Kim, but thank you. So that's a case of, okay, I saved too many fish. Now I need to figure out which ones are going to work for breeding. I don't have time and people are calling and I can't take care of them all. And so I start selling them too fast. And that's what happened. I love the people that call me and say, look at what I got. I'm like, oh. But awesome, Kim. I mean, it's not probably because of me. It's because of you, because you're doing so awesome. You're like breeding all kinds of fish from everybody. And that is awesome. So good for you. Congratulations.
Okay. Happy I could answer that for you, but I'm gonna let Carrie answer it since you addressed it to Carrie. He wants to know about culls. He said you posted some very nice 2-month-old discus, but did not notice many of them. Culls. Do you do a lot of culling since you're very picky?
Yes, I'm extremely picky. So it's the worst thing I hate to do, and I'm not a big fan of killing things. I don't like to get rid of them. And eventually at one time I would just sit on all this stuff and I would give it away. And later on people would come back to haunt me with it saying, oh, this is what I bought from Carrie. And I'm like, and really, you put a picture online, but you didn't say I gave it to you for free or anything like that. So after a while, I was like, man, this is something I got to do. This is hurting my food costs, my water, electricity, even sometimes your reputation. So I started doing it really heavy. I mean, my first thing is sliders go. Anything small that's not growing immediately goes. My eyesight's a little bad now, so I have to wear glasses and use a flashlight. So I'm a little behind on, picking out the short gill plates, bad pelvic fins, bad chafe, glitches in the eyes, nicks or, chunks missing. Those are some of the first stages you're going to see. And then once they get a little bigger, I get rid of all that. And then later on, there's things you're going to miss and not catch as they grow, like the gullet in the chin, or maybe the dorsal rays are 3 of them or 4 of them are a little higher or shorter, or there's a dip in it. Things like that are, called out later. But I basically go for size first. My first thing is size. And if the fish are under what the main group is, they're gone. And I've sold those fish and gave them away. And wow, people have done good with them and raised them up to like 4 or 5 inches. And me thinking they weren't going to be that good. I'm a big on calling, making room, because, that's what people have a hard time with, is raising fry. And, when I'm breeding, I'm trying to get 100, 200 fry, as many as possible. And when you're trying to do that, even with a 75-gallon tank, 125-gallon tank, it's almost impossible to keep all those fry and keep everything happy and water quality at its highest and keeping enough food in there. It just can't be done without splitting up those fish into different tanks. And it's a lot of work to get babies up to good size. But I immediately, I'm on that, and that's my first thing. And it might not be the correct way, as far as, like I said, seeing these fish later on from other people doing well with them, like, wow, I can't believe that fish got that big. I thought it wasn't going to turn out to be anything. But but I have to do it, and I do it. So, and that's kind of how you select breed. I want to keep the fish big. I think Discus should be, 6.5, close to 7 inches. That's the kind of fish I want to keep. I don't want little 4-inch or 5-inch fish. It might be feasible for others, and it is what it is. Everybody has their own routine. I'm more into breeding and making good fish. Other people just want to show them and just have a tank and be happy, and that's understandable. But yeah, I mean, I'm big on culling for sure. I look for that shit.
Saji wants to know what method we use for culling.
Well, pea size, they go in the toilet. Anything bigger, I usually just put them in a bucket and I dump a bunch of ice in them. I have an extra freezer in the garage, and I'll just put them in a bucket, throw them in the freezer, freeze them up, and then they pretty much go to the garden.
Yeah, no, we use ice water.
Yeah,
all sizes.
Yep.
It's the fastest method, safest, surest method.
Yeah, they kind of slow down. They kind of go to us, fall asleep, and then that's that. It shuts them down. So real over.
Yeah. It's a fairly simple method.
Yeah, I mean, there's clove oil and there's other ways of doing it. I've heard of people doing it brutal ways, but I'm a nature guy, so I'm not going to take a live fish, dig a hole in the ground, just throw them in the fucking ground and be done with it. I'm going to put them down first, and that's kind of what I do.
And I have a hard time with it. Most of the time he does the culling for me, so that I don't have to see it. Sometimes he makes me make the ice water, and even that hurts my feelings because I know what it's for.
Yeah. Yeah, you just drop them in there and boom.
I kept hearing about clove oil, and I tried that one time, and that was probably the most traumatic experience I've ever had.
Yeah, it is. They dart around, they go crazy, whirling disease kicks in, they're like spinning. That
was very traumatic for me. I don't ever want to have to see that again. So we skip the clove oil and just go straight for the ice water. They pretty much immediately go to sleep.
Yeah, it's instant.
Yeah, so
the shock, just boom. Yeah, I have a hard time calling. It took a while for me to get used to it, but it's something that has to be done. But it's not fun.
Definitely not. And we do extensive culling as well. I'm actually surprised with how many we got out of that last melon batch. And those guys are looking great. I think it was a couple more that are going from that one, though, the smaller ones.
You doing brine yet?
Oh, this is the 3.5-inch batch. The one or actually 2 of them are probably close to 4 inches. So they're doing real good.
The little fry, those guys are doing good?
Yeah, they're doing real good. They're still in the parents. They've been eating baby brine shrimp since day 4.
Yeah, so they're going to be some awesome fish. You watch.
They are. Oh, I can't wait. I'm always so patient for them to grow up. Any better growth rates at different temperatures? I haven't noticed any.
Nope. I keep all my tanks at 82 Fahrenheit. Babies, adults, breeding pairs, no matter what.
And see, I keep mine at 86, and I think mine grow on a scale with carries. So.
Yeah, I've seen those. I used to be a big fan of that. Definitely keeping a higher temp is going to speed up their metabolism. It's going to make them want to eat more, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's all true. But if the fish is healthy and they're doing well, they're still going to have that same appetite at 86 or at 82.
Yeah.
82 is going to be a little low. Maybe if you run into some problems where the fish aren't eating, you'll want to jack it up. And I've come to those, problems here and there. But for the most part, really no difference on the grow rate as far as running a higher temp or a lower temp. I just figured maybe keeping the lower temp, I had more oxygen levels. I had less bacteria problems. The tanks, the water quality stayed a little better. So things like that led me into the lower temperatures, and I've seen no difference.
I don't think there is a difference. Is it 86? Mine are growing at about the same rate.
Yeah, I've done both. Like I said, I used to be a big fan of keeping the higher temp, and until I did the lower temp, I was like, well, really, I don't need to keep a higher temp. They pretty much grow and eat and act the same at the same temp, as long as they're healthy.
Right. So, Carrie, you got that heavy coat on. What's the temperature up there?
It's about 50 degrees. I have swimming trunks on. So yeah, that's why I put the jacket on, and I was a little chilly. I didn't want to do it in the house because it's kind of a nice day, and I've been locked up for a week. So
Saji, Pat's F1s are doing amazing. They have grown some since they've been here. They're starting to show some of the signs of pairing off. Nobody's laid eggs, but they're flirting with it a little bit, I think. I've also one of Carrie's heckles in the tank with them. She has laid eggs before, and I put her in there to kind of stimulate them. And she has paired off with one of the males, but she also hasn't laid eggs. None of Carrie's fish will lay eggs for me for some reason.
They're slow, man. They're so slow.
Oh,
they take forever. I waited a long time for those fish. I remember, and I remember Pat bringing it up, but it could be wild. I don't have a lot of experience with wilds. It's just I'm not attracted to them. I bought Ultimate Angels. They were wild. They were monsters. They were huge, and they just didn't do it for me. I got rid of them. But
no, I won't get wilds because of my pH. I mean, you know how high my pH is, and I'm just that wilds won't be able to adjust to my pH, so I'm not going to do it. I think they're absolutely gorgeous, though.
Yeah, no, I get it. I just I guess I said I'm not in it for the money, but at the same time, I just can't move wilds to the pet stores and to a lot of local people. Everybody wants color or something nice with spots or this or that or the other. So and I'm a big fan of color. I love flowers and butterflies and things like that. So that's kind of why I like the domestic Discus. So
yeah,
that's where I'm at. All honesty said.
Yeah, and most of mine are domestics. Well, all of mine are domestics, technically, but the F1s are the closest to the wilds that I've got. That and the heckles. As far as the look of the fish, those are the closest ones I've got to anything wild. Everything else is colorful. I'm to the blues, but I can't seem to find blue diamonds that are like Carrie's. Fortunately, I've got some of Carrie's coming. So.
You got it. You'll like these a lot. I'm telling you.
Yes.
They're probably like wondering where I'm at right now. They're like, dude, you're supposed to feed me. It's 2 hours later.
Yeah.
They're just destroying everything I give them. I even tried some of that. I got it from Discus America from Mike.
Yeah.
What is that stuff? I don't know. They destroyed it. They ate the hell out of it. I got like tons of new foods that people send to me for samples to try, and I end up giving it all away because I kind of stick to my routine. But today I was like, let's try this stuff. Oh, Royal Menu it is. And yeah, they loved it. They ate the hell out of it. It's pretty good.
The good thing is we both feed primary flake. So if I've got nothing else they'll eat that.
Yeah. My wife hates it though, because I try to do all the fish with that in the morning, and it stinks up the whole basement so fast. Yeah. That's the only problem. And of course, like others have said, if you want to, I never feed it 3 times a day like some people do, but it will turn your fish a little orange if you feed it that consistently. Yeah.
We feed the tetracolor bits, so we already have that coming.
Do they poop red?
Sometimes. Yeah.
I went to a guy's house in New York.
Yeah, we've got paprika and spirulina in the beef heart. So
a friend of mine, Dave Weber, a very old friend of mine. He was a wild discus bird. That's all he liked, is wild fish. He hated domestics. But finally one day he brought in an order, and he was going to sell them and get his wild discus business going. And he had a lot going on. He did well for a long time. But I went to visit him in New York, and I was like, "Damn, man, how much tetra bits you feeding them?" He's like, "Oh, that's all they eat 3 times a day." He goes, "And that ain't tetra bits, that's your poop." I'm like, "Oh my God, dude, it looks like tetra bits." He goes, "No, they poop red." But hey, he he was taking 2.5-inch fish and growing them into 6-inch fish, just feeding tetra bits 3 times a day.
Yeah.
He did. It was amazing.
Well,
Even the
happy
water had
Canada.
like a pink line across the top of the aquarium.
Yeah.
Line. Yeah, it was hilarious.
Right. Happy Canada wants to know if you've had any luck breeding albino discus and growing the fry.
Yeah, I have. Not pure albinos. It was usually albino fish and intermediate albino. So I never was ever producing 100% albinos. It was always either the 25% albinos or the 50% albinos by breeding an intermediate albino with a full albino, or 2 intermediate albinos will produce 25% albinos. So it was always done that way. So I always had either a brown-based fish or a non-albino fish to raise the fry. So I never really had any problems. Like I said, never full albino to full albino. I've always heard there was a lot of problems with it, getting the fry to attach, but there's been people I've seen do it. And just like they used to say that about the pigeon bloods, and I've really not had that many problems with fry attaching with my pigeon bloods. And I do raise some of them in black tanks, breeding tanks, black bottom, black sides, black background. So yeah, I just I never did full to full.
Okay, Meta says, is there any special consideration for breeding albinos?
Yeah, definitely. So you're at your end of your line. So now you got these albino lines. If you breed albino to albino, you're gonna get 100% albino. You're gonna be very, very weak. So now you have to deal with this weak fish, and hopefully the fish that you bought aren't brother and sister, because now inbreeding them together is even weakening this next batch of fry even more. Slow growers, but they do, you do get a nice group out of them, depending, like I said, who you buy them from, the genetics of them, blah, blah, blah. But I don't see that a lot of people say they're blind and hard to see. They are light sensitive when they are little, but as they get a little bigger, they seem to do as well as the non-albino fish to me, as far as eating habits, courtship, breeding, growing. So yeah, I just wouldn't be too fond of breeding albino to albino. The way that's done is by using an intermediate albino fish, which is a brown-based fish that carries the albino gene. And that's how a lot of the big breeders do it. They don't breed albino to albino.
Makes sense. G-Long.
G-Long, what up, G-Long?
If any of you guys are from Australia, you need to look him up. He has got some of the most beautiful fish.
I want to go to Australia, so
Jackson.
when I go there. Yes, he had some very nice fish.
Ship me any. I wish he would ship me some.
G-Long.
Yeah. More questions. I'm waiting on them. G-Long Discus is probably one of the best importers in Australia. I don't know too many of the other ones though, so I really can't say, but he's definitely up there with them. I'm telling you that now.
He probably knows Rod Lewis too. If I'm not mistaken, they might know each other, but Rod Lewis used to be really big. He was a home breeder. He wasn't so much an importer. Guy was just amazing with genetics at the time, where everything was top secret. And the reason why he knew a lot of it, because he was breeding a lot of it. So he didn't really have to find out. He found out on experience. But Rod Lewis, he's probably not into it anymore. He's still around on the forums, just see him here and there. But guy was just, and if you go on Simply Discus and look into the archives, he has tons of genetic posts, tons of information that he shared with a lot of people. A lot of good, valuable information, definitely. And I bet they know each other.
Yeah, Geelong, we touch on a lot of topics when we end up doing these. We're doing actually cross-contamination, but we're just off on other topics at this point. Any questions that people have, answering them and that sort of thing.
We're on freestyle mode.
About this. Yeah, I do like to be able to do a question and answer session. That way we don't have to answer them all in the groups and all that. So, and people get to know us a little bit.
Right.
Just finished an airport run, so I'm going to be waiting for pictures, Geelong. I want to see this.
Pictures.
Okay, he thinks he retired.
Rod, yeah, he did.
So.
Yeah, he did. Great guy though. Very, very knowledgeable. Very, shared his information. Wasn't trying to steer anybody wrong. Always tried to help people.
Right. There's a lot of people that are retired from the business that, a lot of information. A lot of them are still sharing their information even now.
Mm-hmm.
That have actually retired from the hobby. So
yes.
And I love seeing them because, even I can learn.
Oh, there's always room for improvement. Always.
I'm learning new stuff every day. So.
That's how it is.
I'm actually learning how to comment on people's posts without seeming like, not nice.
Oh no, I'll never learn that.
No, you probably won't, but I'm actually better at it. And I'm also learning how to refrain from saying comments that I shouldn't say. There was a post in Simply Discus yesterday, and I actually commented on there that people need to keep their comments on a serious note because of the way it was worded. A lot of people are from other countries. They don't speak English as their first language, so they say things a little bit strange.
Yes.
And this person wanted to know what to do with a blackened discus. Well, I was tempted to, mention what normally you do with blackened fish, but I decided to make a post instead about keeping it serious. And we still ended up with a couple of comments that were not nice.
Yeah.
Carrie likes Facebook jail. Carrie, have you been in Facebook jail?
Yes, I have. When they asked me what I did wrong, and did you do this, marks yes here, I just hit yes. Yes. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. I just sometimes, like I said, I don't know. I guess I've been doing it a little bit too long, and I don't sometimes consider the new part of it. I forget how it was for me when I was new, and I sometimes overlook that stuff. And I'll open my mouth without thinking, and then after it's all said and done, then I'm like, I remember I used to be that person, and then I'll feel bad about it. And then of course my apology always comes. It might not be online, but it might be behind the scenes. But if I'm wrong, I will admit it and reach out. I try to.
How do you spell Riddick Plus? That was pretty close. Actually, I'm going to type that in real quick. Yeah, I had a comment the other day, and it was on somebody's thread, and I kind of felt bad when it was all said and done. But if I see something that I think is wrong, and I'll say it was Melafix because it probably was a Melafix post.
Could have been Pumafex.
Yeah, I may not come straight out and say
Pumafex.
you shouldn't use it or anything, but I insinuate that it's a bad product. And I expect people to go and look it up, because if it was me, I would. And this guy kept on, and I finally copied and pasted a thing that said that Melafix was not considered as used for fish. It doesn't work for fish. And he's like, well, you didn't cite any sources or anything. And just like, are you kidding me right now? He wants me to cite sources on a copy and paste, And
Right.
It's very frustrating because it was something that was so simple to look up.
Right.
So I do expect people to do research, because that's all part of it. It's part of the hobby. You have to research stuff.
Right. Especially if you want to be successful. A lot of people are in for a quick fix and instant gratification. That doesn't help with the learning process.
Yeah,
especially if you're in for the long haul.
When we started, you didn't really have that many resources. I think I joined a forum when the forums were just starting to show up, and started doing research there and learning from people that had been in the hobby for 30 years before that. And they didn't have the resources that we have. You can go to Google, and I don't recommend it, and put in a search for something. It's so simple. But if you do want to do a search and find actual research, you go to Google Scholar, and you type that into Google Chrome, and it pulls up Google Scholar. You click on that and do your searches there.
Awesome info.
I don't like Google. Google pulls up every Tom, Dick, and Harry's article that they wrote based on a part of an information about something.
Right.
That was like somebody came into Discus Inside Out one day and said that you can't use medication in the water because Dr. Yanong said that you cannot put the medicine in the water. It doesn't work. Well, I had already put that particular article into the file section in Discus Inside Out. And it does say in there that you can use medicine in the water. It just has to be in a higher dose. And the veterinarians have already figured that dose and have already put the dosage out there so that you know what dose you need. Google Scholar, Kim. If one parent becomes sick and the babies are only 1 week old, what is the best to resolve a situation like that?
Remove her.
Remove them.
Remove.
Just that parent, not the other one. Because you have one, but at 1 week old, they should be on baby brine shrimp anyway.
Yep. One parent should be able to still handle the fry.
Awesome, Tom. That is a good go-to medication for the cross-contamination. So Tom Neeb has got a bottle of Riddick there.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Discus.
Yeah, Francis had posted London Riddick. It's Gordon.
Oh, Gordon, yeah.
Yeah.
Gordon, yeah.
Cordon. Not real. That's like Levamisol. For a long time, I called it Levamisol.
Levamisol.
The good thing about talking to a veterinarian is you learn how to say all these medical names.
But your best word, what is your best word that Tammy says? What is your best word? Go on and say red turquoise.
Red turquoise. Turquoise.
Turquoise. You make me want to buy a red. You make me want to buy one of them.
No, just wait. I'll have some babies. Got a couple of turquoises. And you're not the only one that says that too, because Pat said something about it too.
Does she? I've been heard her say that.
I got so used to speaking Dutch that some of my words come out that way, you know.
Yeah. I'm not knocking you for it.
Oh, I know.
I like it. It sounds
Worse than having a
extravagant.
Southern accent, because I've got one of those too. Oh,
Yeah.
it's a nice day outside. It looks like you guys have plenty of sunshine too.
Yeah, we're doing good. It's sunny. Quick scope of the yard.
Fenbendazole side effects. I don't know of any, but you do not use fenbendazole in the water column.
Fenbendazole.
Fenbendazole has to be in food. It can actually kill your fish if you put it in the water column.
That's why he's bringing up side effects.
Yes, I think it is too.
Mm-hmm. Not good in the water.
I don't like medications that are mixed in food because you have to base it on the weight of the fish, which means that if you're treating 20 fish, you got to take them out, weigh them, and see how much they weigh. I don't think so.
Right, exactly. And that then you got the pecking order, which is against you as well. So now 10 fish got this much grams, and one fish got a half a gram, and yeah,
Awesome.
I agree. I totally agree.
I like the part. I didn't see it till just now because of the delay. I'm not showing you mine because mine looks like a junkyard or something right now. I've got extra lawnmower sitting around, and the jet skis are back here, and I've got a big wood pile and oak grill, refrigerator for the fish rooms out here.
Nice. With a tarp over it.
Actually, it's under the overhang for the house, so it's covered. But yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna get going, you guys.
Yeah, me too.
I'm gonna
with my baby fishes.
Yeah, I'm gonna go feed the fish again and then fire up the grill for the family, and see you guys next week.
Yep. Next week, guys. We hopefully have a guest next week. We'll see what happens. Otherwise, we'll have to come up with a good topic.
Yep. We'll figure it out. We'll grab somebody. We'll make it happen. We will make it happen.
I want to thank everybody for coming in. You've been a great viewing audience, and we've had fun doing this for you. And I'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, everyone.